It's going in a little thicker on that side. Oh well, I need to shape this anyways. It's a day. It's Thursday. It's Thursday. It's Thursday. Pretty much just waiting for about the 3-minute mark or until someone decides that they're gonna jump in. But until then, I'm just gonna kinda kick it and do whatever I want. I'm just gonna sit here and do whatever I want. Do 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 boo doo 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 boo doo boom 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 ba doo doo boom boom ba doo doo dun 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 dun. What is all this? Let me see if I can figure some fun stuff out. What does the sketch do? Oh my fucking god. Well, it really shows that I've got my headset on. What's this? No. No, 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 no. Silver screen. Yeah, that's not too bad. Be a documentary 8mm. I'm just having fun with this stuff for now. Yeah, that's one way to have lights. All right, that's actually kind of cool. Um, I could technically be doing that the entire time with, uh, just do that, and then yeah, I could just boo doo boo 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 doo 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 ba da boom boom ba da ba doom ba da boom boom ba da boom ba da boom boom ba da boom ba da boom boom ba da boo doo boo doo boo doo ba na ba 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 da na. I like this blue light though. Yeah, okay, so 3-minute mark. All right, let's go. Close that down. What am I even going to talk about today? I don't fucking know. I have no idea. Uh, I guess first things first. Let's touch on some stuff that I've been dealing with on the whole YouTube thing. Is anytime I post a short that criticizes pretty much anybody, there are some completely brain dead people who jump into my comments and say irrelevant shit. And it's honestly a bit annoying, to be completely honest. You guys just, if you're gonna come in and have actual decent criticisms instead of saying things like, wash your beanie, because this thing has been washed multiple times. It's just it's sun damaged. It has damage from being out in the sun all day, every day. Comments about my teeth. Yeah, my teeth are fucked, y'all. I don't have dental insurance, and kind of got genetic condition with my teeth, so not even something that y'all can shame me for. My teeth are fucked. I know it. It's part of the reason I don't really show them, because I mean I don't need people just making attacks on me over crap like that. I don't. It's not worth it, honestly. It's just an attack on me for having bad genetics with my teeth. Whatever. Oh, what else? Let's see. People saying that my criticisms of other people are unsubstantiated, even though most of the time when I'm making a short, going after somebody's bad take or something, I mention the take and as quick as possible within the 15 seconds try and explain why it's bad, or I just make fun of them if it's just going to take way too long. And I guess that's kind of what this thing's for. So like people have asked me what's wrong with Anna, what's wrong with Benny Carollo, what's wrong with uh, pretty much any of the people that I've said TYT produces that have become dog shit. So I suppose we can run down a short kind of summary list here. First person I mentioned is Michael Tracy. It's been a long enough time that I feel that some people may not understand why Michael Tracy is a piece of shit or even know who he is. And essentially, you can take Matt Walsh, make him about 15 points more retarded than Walsh is, and you've got pretty much the same guy. It's pretty much it. Best suggestion would be to look up Vosh versus Michael Tracy and watch either debate he's done, and it's bad. Michael is very stupid. He's also kind of, a theocratic fascist type thing. He's definitely a fascist of some kind. Whether he's theocratic or not, it's kind of hard to pin him down on because, well, he's too stupid to actually have a consistent set of beliefs. But they all lead to fascism in some way. Um, yeah, it's been so long with Michael Tracy. There's too many people who may not even know who the fuck he is. Which probably good. Like he's not somebody that needs to have any relevance. Although I'd rather him being stupid, making the right look even worse, be somebody with relevance more so than somebody like, oh, I don't know, Jimmy Dore. But we'll pause on Jimmy. Next person, because we had Michael Tracy. Then I mentioned Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin was one of those I didn't leave the left. The left has left me, classical liberal, hates every minority group, pretends not to hate black people, pretends not to hate gay people, even though he is gay himself. He definitely hates gay people, hates trans people, hates any sort of progressive push, hates any sort of leftist economic policy, anything to do with even basic social democracy. He pretended to be a liberal for a while until it became way too untenable. And even liberals were like, this guy's not a liberal. And yeah, then he had to come out with his normal, conservative, I've left the left. He was picked up by Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro, both at the same time, pretty much, having him around to be able to chat and do shit. He was on that, what was it, Cancel Con or whatever. And yeah, I mean, Dave Rubin's, he's fairly irrelevant at this point, especially with how often Sam Cedar has come out and just been like destroying him. But, he's still somebody who came from TYT along with Michael Tracy. Thus, TYT has produced upheld and produced two far right wing reactionary bigots. Homo progressives, by the way, homo progressives. Two reactionary bigots, that's just them. And then we move on to Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore postured himself as further left than anybody at TYT up until Hassan. Well, uh, Jimmy was known at TYT to sexually harass Anna. And then when he left TYT, he was arguing in 2015, 2016 against Sam Cedar and saying that he was going to not vote for Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton. And he said that Hillary Clinton is a known evil and Donald Trump is a not known evil. He's unknown. He's a complete unknown, so he may not be as bad as people think. Smart people like Sam. And Sam's like, no, his rhetoric right now has already kind of indicated that he's going to be really bad and went through a bunch of scenarios. And Sam even predicted that he was going to get to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices. Like in that debate, called him out and was just like, what if he appoints 1, 2, 3 Supreme Court justices? We've got this person, and this person. And I don't remember everybody he said, but he called all 3 of them. He's like, these 3 people old enough to retire, they're probably going to be out of the way. Like, and as soon as Trump has the opportunity, he's going to put 3 Supreme Court justices on. Jimmy Dore started moving even further to the right, pretending to using left-wing populist messaging to push people to the far right. So he's one of the more dangerous people that TYT has produced. That ended up coming out as a far right reactionary. He doesn't claim that he's a far right reactionary. He still claims that he's a leftist or a progressive, but he's gone against trans people. He's gone against scientific consensus on COVID and vaccines. He promoted the ivermectin shit. He's done the Jan 6 showed revolutionary potential like a lot of Marxist-Leninists, aka fascists, have. He's done some weird sussy JQ adjacent rhetoric. I think he even accused somebody of like blood libel shit at one point. So yeah, Jimmy Dore, one of the worst that's come out of TYT. Because yeah, Michael Tracy came out of there, but Michael Tracy is fairly irrelevant at this point, and he's so stupid that people don't really take him seriously, except for some of the dumbest people on the planet. Jimmy Dore is dumb, and he's openly very fucking stupid, but the way he crafts his messaging, the way he crafts his rhetoric to be able to very thinly, very much shallowly touching on leftist aesthetic to shove people towards the right. I mean, that's what a lot of fascists have started doing. That's kind of the best way that they've got to operate. It's what the Nazis did. National Socialists only called themselves that, A, because they had some economic prescriptions that were from socialist schools of thought, but Hitler took that rhetoric and ran with it to be able to sway people to his side before he just flipped around and started doing the massive privatization in Germany, the concentration camps, genocide, ethnic cleansing, Holocaust, all that shit. Locking up the first people he went for were communists, anarchists, and socialists. Then he went after gay people. Then he went after, well, I think he went after Jewish people, then gay people, and Roma, and et cetera, black people, any of that. Anybody who was against, Lebensraum and the ideology that he pushed. But he did posture himself, much in the same way Jimmy Dore does, as a left leaning individual. And then, boom, flip, turn around. Let's see, we got, and then the last two that I know of that came out of TYT that are just fucking dog shit. I already mentioned Hassan Piker, and Hassan wasn't that bad. Like, Hassan came away from TYT, and he was definitely closer to my camp, although he didn't like debate, and that's part of the reason these people don't like debate. We'll get into that here in a second. But Hassan was closer to my camp. He would agree more with myself, Vosh, Demon Mama, Joe. He would with, say, Haas, Jackson Hinkle, fucking Ugopnik, Second Thought, Hakeem. But because Hassan is a massive fucking pussy and doesn't want to confront the reactionary elements of his audience, he fell into, and he doesn't want tankies either, because he's a pussy. So he fell into promoting pro-China, pro-Russia narratives. This man legitimately, recently, on his stream, was talking about how Hong Kong is, essentially saying that Hong Kong's better off because it's under the boot of China. And then he does a milquetoast. Well, I'm more socially libertarian than China is. I don't like their oppression of the minorities, but they're doing a good job. They're fucking capitalist, Hassan. You cannot call yourself a socialist if you're going to support China. Their economic policies right now are capitalist. Same thing with Vietnam. The socialist-oriented market economy means, and this is from Vietnam's own government, that their market economy is oriented to lead them to socialism, meaning it's a transitional phase into capitalism from agrarianism so that they can build up material wealth so that they can move to a dictatorship of the proletariat, socialism, and then into full communism. Hi, Sam. So it's really, anybody who says that Vietnam is currently a socialist country is ill-informed at best or deliberately lying to you at worst. Like Luna Oi, the person who constantly, like the most well-known uh, supposedly socialist Vietnamese YouTuber, She hangs out with far right nationalists who were responsible for gas attacks against uh, 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 the queer protesters in Vietnam, people trying to get, gay rights. She claims to be a bisexual woman, but she was hanging out and promoting the far right nationalists in Vietnam. Her family is connected very highly up in the Vietnamese government. She was not born into a poor family that was given a rice field. She wasn't poor. She didn't grow up, as a working class person. Her parents are high level government officials in Vietnam. So you cannot listen to Luna Oi. You can't listen to Hassan because Hassan fell the fuck off and became really fucking stupid. And finally, from TYT, Luna Oi did not come from TYT, by the way, but she is somebody who promotes Vietnamese interests and is probably paid by the Vietnamese government to do so. But the last person that came from TYT very recently who left TYT, granted, she has a good reason to leave. Anna Kasparian is pretty fucking transphobic, apparently, and has, over the course of a year now, I guess, has went from saying things like inclusive language like birthing person is important because there are non-binary womb havers and trans men who can give birth. So the inclusive language is important for them, to flipping around and screeching about how it is harmful to her cause and their cause to be able to use terminology like this because she doesn't like it and it's not inclusive if cis women hate it. Which honestly, there's a lot of really dumb shit that Anna has said, but that might be one of the dumbest. It's not inclusive if cis women hate it. I'm sorry. Was it not inclusive during the end of segregation and in moving into integration when white women didn't like it that black women could share their spaces? They thought that that was that apparently the wrong move, Anna. Think about it for a second. Think about that. White women didn't want it. Was it was it the wrong move? Because white women didn't want black women around them? Because they were racist? No, you're just transphobic, Anna. And the fact that you have deliberately gone after Benny more than once, and after Benny has been out openly trans to you for, I think it was a year, it was several months at the very least, that upon her leaving TYT, you misgender her, something you shouldn't do when you are well aware of Benny's pronouns, gender identity, presentation, everything. Yeah. But I'll side with Benny on that one. However, Benny's debate performance against Charlie Kirk really showed a massive failure in her ability to do research, the failure of her ideology as well. Because at any point that you're having a debate against Charlie Kirk and you make him actually look good, you have failed, fundamentally failed at your job. If your job is to promote leftism, what you don't do is go out and defend Stalin, Lenin, and Mao. The best you could say about Lenin or Mao is they were great revolutionary leaders because obviously they got the job fucking done. They led successful revolutions. They were terrible leaders of state. Charlie Kirk is the guy who made Turning Point USA. He's the small face guy. God, I wish that I wasn't on my phone doing this stream. Otherwise, I'd just pull up a picture. Uh, you've probably seen you've probably seen Charlie Kirk before, multiple times. Bosch debated Charlie Kirk a couple of times on Tim Pool's show. Sam Cedar debated Charlie Kirk at Politicon. Uh, yeah. You'll recognize Charlie Kirk fairly quickly. Uh, he's at the very minimum a fascist, at worst a Nazi. It's bad when Nick Fuentes, like one of the biggest Nazis in America, one of the most well-known Nazis in America at that, has had to stop doing the optics game because the only thing that separates him from Charlie is the fact that Charlie is optically uh, good at not appearing to be a fucking lunatic. So, you know. Anyways, uh, yeah, Benny laughing about genocides like for one, I'm sorry, Benny, this is not meant to sound mean, but your laugh was so unbearable, and you did it at the worst fucking times. You don't laugh at genocides. Yeah, yeah, that's Charlie Kirk. Yep, his face is way too small for his head, which is the inverse of Hassan, whose head is too small for his body. I guess not really the inverse, but you know, very funny. You pair the two up, you've got small head Hassan and small face Charlie. Good debate opponents for each other. I actually do think that Hassan would. No, actually, Hassan would do terribly because Hassan is also fucking dumb. Uh, like it should say something that everybody who's gone to actually debate Charlie Kirk and come away looking decent has done preparation. Sam Cedar did prep. Vosh did prep to go debate Charlie Kirk because you can't just go up to him, debate him, and not have any fucking overview review of literature, fucking knowledge. Like you have to know your shit. Charlie Kirk is media trained. He is not. Um, I mean, he's really fucking dumb, but he's not incapable of debating. The fact that he turned around, I mean, he was wrong on a lot of what he said, but because he's rhetorically proficient, people aren't going to really catch it. Like when he, Benny, yeah, Benny had called him out on the cultural Marxism dog whistle, because that was one of the questions that came up. And Benny said, "Oh, I know you're a Nazi because you're asking me about cultural Marxism." And he turned it around and was like, "Who is Antonio Gramsci? What coin did he what phrase did he coin?" And Benny couldn't answer because Benny didn't prepare at all. So he was able to slide in and say, well, Benny knew who Gramsci was, an Italian socialist. But because Benny wasn't actually educated on any of Gramsci's work, he was able to go in when when she was saying, Italian socialist. He turned it around and said that Benny or that Gramsci came up with the term cultural Marxism. Thus, it's not something related to Nazis. But Benny, being uneducated on this, didn't realize that what Gramsci had coined wasn't the term cultural Marxism, which came from cultural Bolshevismus, which came from Jewish Bolshevismus from the Nazis. It was actually cultural hegemony, a completely different concept, not related at all to cultural Marxism. Cultural hegemony. That is the thing that Gramsci came up with, the term that he coined, cultural hegemony, which, from my very basic understanding of it, is essentially, hegemony is like a melting everything into one, kind of, making things one. U.S. hegemony is expansion of the U.S.'s reach everywhere, um, having the most sway, kind of being basic with it, but that trying to keep things very baseline, and I don't have the best understanding of cultural hegemony anyways. I haven't read a whole lot of Gramsci, but essentially, yeah, taking hegemony, taking your cultural and making it your culture and making it hegemonic, making it the dominant culture, which U.S. culture kind of is right now. I mean, we influence everywhere on the planet. Our culture does. We've got Hollywood, we've got New York shit, we've got a bunch of media and things that are exported out, where the dominant force in capitalism, and that also exports out our way of life, which exports a lot of our culture out as well. So we've got a lot more places that are living with an influx and induction of American culture than we would have, 50, 100 years ago. In some ways, that's a problem. In some ways, it's not. I mean, having assimilating some of every culture together in varying degrees can be kind of cool, if you ask me. I mean, having a little area that has a heavier American influence on the traditional culture in, say, Japan, but America has like a heavy Japanese influence in some areas, and taking that and melding it around the entire planet in different degrees, like more of American culture here in America with some Japanese, some Chinese, and just the melting pot of culture here, but predominantly American culture, whatever the fuck that even means, really. And then you look over at China and you've got predominantly Chinese culture, but there's little pockets of Japanese and Indonesian and American and there's Korean, whatever. It can be cool in some regards. It can also be a massive problem. I don't think anybody should be trying to preserve any one culture at all, ever, because culture always changes. I mean, the culture of America has changed over the past fucking 5 years, so you're not going to be able to preserve any culture. You can preserve elements of it, but not the entire thing. And even then, I think some elements of culture shouldn't be preserved. Most elements shouldn't be preserved, if any. Change is gonna happen. You have to be able to fucking roll with it. It's just how it is. That's how life has always been. That's how the world works. Everything changes. And if you stay stuck and rigid and try and keep things held into one point in time forever, you're going to fail. You're going to cause a lot of misery, death, and destruction, and it's just not going to be good for anybody involved, So, just little things to keep in mind. How's the audio here, by the way? Am I coming through okay? So honestly, I don't know. I don't have a playback to be able to hear myself. Streaming on the phone is such a pain in the ass. I had a thing here. Yeah, that's it. So I had somebody criticize a video I did, what, 2 years ago? Video that's What Do I Believe? And I'm not gonna lie, it probably wasn't very well structured. And this section's not gonna be super well structured either. I've kind of got a guideline to go down here, and I might just make it an actual video. But like when it comes right down to it, I mean, yeah, I see I've got a little deal with a whole bunch of stuff written on it. So to run things down real quick, in the What Do I Believe segment here, we got the social structure. I believe in uh, anarchism uh, because I do believe that most social. Uh, oh, cool! I'm glad that the audio's coming through. I've got the Ola Dance in, using them as my microphone as well. But I believe that most social uh, most hierarchies around in the world need to be examined fully. And if they cannot be ethically justified, they need to be abolished. There are some hierarchies that I think are justified when it comes to, like, even in anarchist societies in the past, when it comes to any sort of militia, community defense, you have hierarchies. This is something that was learned from piracy, because pirates, original, like back in the day, old school piracy was very anarchic. They didn't have, like, the captain didn't have a leading role in anything except for battle. I do believe in a thing called love. So hierarchies can, in some ways, be justified. The big thing here is when a hierarchy is justified sometimes, that is when it is allowed to exist, and when it is no longer needed, it vanishes. So for the example of community defense or whatever, about, a skirmish happens, somebody tries to invade as things are getting set up, the community has their commander for the fighting is done, you win the thing or whatever. That hierarchy is immediately abolished. You no longer have to subjugate yourself under the community defense commander. Their their role is done. because you won. Their hierarchy will be reinstated if another incursion happens, but that's it. You submit yourself to the authority of a doctor under your own uh, free will, and you can withdraw their authority over you at any given time. Stuff like that. I believe in democracy. A lot of anarchists will say consensus, but consensus is just a overdone form of democracy. Because you see, consensus is 100% of people agree, and you will never get 100% of people to agree. But what you can do is set your limit for majority at a higher threshold or lower threshold. So if 60% of people agree, that may not still be enough. 70% of people, you might be able to, 75, 80, 90, 97. You have limits you can play around with on what needs to be a passing vote for things. Uh, because honestly, democracy is very, very good. Not representative bourgeois democracy. This shit's kind of a farce. It's the best we've got at the moment. We can do better. We can go with direct democracy. Um, Sometimes, but some ways, but not really. It's not really martial law because you don't have to listen to when it comes to like community defense stuff, the community defense commander has their leading position in terms of combat. That's it. They don't make laws or anything like that. They lead the community in defense of the community, and that's it. That's the only time they have any sort of hierarchical role. Outside of that, they're just a normal person. They contribute to the community just like everybody else would. They help with community gardens, they help with public works like cleaning the streets and shit like that. Whatever it is. And again, this is hypothetical stuff that's hundreds of years away because we're nowhere near an anarchist society. But it is good to take an anarchic approach to every system that we have on the planet. Uh, so it's one of those things. Old school piracy, it was in a sense kind of martial law whenever you were in combat, but not really. The captain could even be voted out in a pirate ship. You could vote the captain out. Any position that had authority. The boatswain, the quartermaster, and the captain were all three elected positions on the ship. And if a captain lost the trust of his crew to be able to do his job, the crew could vote him out. If the crew didn't vote him out, then the person who tried to vote him out might attempt to get him overthrown in another way, and that's mutiny. So there's kind of a give and take. Like if you're in a community defense thing and you personally have lost faith that the community commander actually has the ability to do the job that is required, you can put it up to a vote to replace said community defense leader. If it fails, then you either get back in line underneath them, or you can be considered a mutineer, a traitor of sorts to the community, and disciplinary action could be taken. There's a lot of variables there, but basic thing, basic premise. Hierarchies should be only instituted when needed and torn up, revoked. The authority of them revoked at any point under your own free will, essentially, or under the community's will. Because if it's a big deal that involves the community, such as community defense, you need to vote that kind of thing out. Oh God. It actually covers the social structure bit. The economic structure, this is where things get a little bit more fuzzy for me because I've done a lot of reading into things like syndicalism and also communist organizations, and I kind of take a bit of both, really, because I mean you have to be a socialist first before you can even think of calling yourself an anarchist. So workers owning the means of production, democracy at work, worker co-ops, unions, strong things like that. Personally, I think every workplace, like just in my ideal world, say we achieve our communist governmental structure, uh, anarcho-syndicalism is the overall ideology that I follow. So like we've got uh, workplace democracy, we got a bunch of worker co-ops everywhere, right? All the businesses are worker co-ops, just for hypothetical sake. Every single worker co-op would then elect a representative who, again, like with everything else, all the authority can be withdrawn by a vote. They elect a representative for a union that would go and meet with other union representatives from different sectors or whatever, different stores having their own union rep meeting with other people running, in the same sector to be able to come up with a singular union rep that's voted on by all the people there. And the main sectoral union rep has to go and deal with the other main sectoral rep. And it goes up, and they take their issues up to the big syndicate fucking meeting, and everybody passes their shit around, the issues, the negotiations. It all goes back to the workers. They vote on that. Goes back up. They deliberate, come up with other solutions. Goes back down until a majority is reached, consensus, whatever the term is you want to use. But in my personal opinion, I think for stuff like that, it should be 65% plus one. 65% plus one. That's better than 50% plus one. That's less than 66%. That's less than 2/3. But it's still a very hefty amount of people that have to agree on major decisions. That's my personal deal. It makes things move a little bit faster. You may have some unhappy people, but what the deal there is you try and implement what the majority of people want, that 65 plus one, and then you turn around and you try and offer compromises and other benefits to the people who were unhappy with what was presented and agreed upon by more people. Because you don't want them to build resentment in your communities, in your syndicates, in your workplaces. And that's why this kind of stuff is important. There is such a thing as needing to have minority protections, even under an anarchist system, especially under an anarchist system. So that's a big deal for me. And I think that the syndicalism portion of anarcho-syndicalism is the best economic way to move forward. I know there's been some criticism. Some people say that mutualism is better, and I'm not against mutualism. I'm not 100% even married to anarcho-syndicalism. Anarchism, yes. Syndicalism, I mean, I'm not even super well read on what syndicalism is. I've read through like 4 papers on it. One of them was Rudolf Rocker's book about anarcho-syndicalism. I've read some Noam Chomsky papers on anarcho-syndicalism because Rudolf Rocker inspired Noam Chomsky in a lot of ways. So I've got more study to do on that particular thing. So on the economic bit, I can be a little bit fuzzy, not 100%, but my personal idea I've kind of already laid out. And if you like that, then cool. We can just call it Danarchism, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. Social values section. Yeah, trans rights, LGBTQ rights, all that. Why? Because who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? What is it? Is it your business? No, no. Are trans people hurting you? No. What are trans people trying to do? Live, be happy, be left alone for the most part. They just want to be seen as the gender that they identify as. It's really not that fucking hard. The conservative panic over it, this entire fucking outrage and shit, is honestly largely manufactured, especially since conservatives are more likely to be chasers. Let's face it, they are. If you look up states that look up the most transgender porn, it's conservative states. Oklahoma's in the top 4 for people searching for trans porn. There ain't that many fucking lefties here in Oklahoma. I can tell you that from experience. We've got a few progressive liberals, but when it comes to like lefty people, no. No. No, not at all. Uh, it's honestly insane. So, Republicans don't actually care. It's just a panic. It's a moral panic. They start these every fucking 5 years. Used to be longer than that, but I mean, fuck, we've had there was the gay panic back in like the 70s, 80s, 90s. Satanic panic came at that point as well. fucking uh God, what was it in 2000? Oh yeah, the panic about Muslim people and terrorism in 2000 and the 2000s. Uh, then it was another gay panic in the 2010s up until 2013 when the Supreme Court allowed for gay marriage. Uh, and then there was, yeah, the Gamergate, feminists and blah, 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 blah. There's always some sort of moral panic that the right is starting. And there's always bullshit. Why? Because they want to deflect from the shit that they're doing. Because, like, what do they do? Usually molest children. That's mostly what conservatives do, is pedophilia. Pedophilia. Why? Because that's conservatives. That's their whole deal, is power, especially over vulnerable people. And who's the most vulnerable people in society? It's children. The conservative mindset is distinctly about power, almost exclusively about power. And one of the biggest ways to show power in their minds is, well, what are you not supposed to do that they always seem to get away with? It's going after kids. That's part of the reason that they like to use to throw that at lefties and stuff, because it's all projection for them. Oh, you're going after kids. No. Telling kids, hey, it's okay to be gay. Hey, it's okay to be trans. There's literally nothing wrong with it. You can do that if you want. Isn't going after kids. In some ways that's one thing, but on another one, the whole moral panic thing is always just a distraction. You can pretty much just ignore it. Whenever they're coming out and screaming about shit, like right now it's trans people, you can go, oh, they're talking about trans people? I literally don't know anything about that. And then look into it yourself. Never take the word of a Republican. Yeah, that is true, actually. This is probably the one time that Republican moral panic has really been, it's really backfired them. It's really backfired on them. Which, that's great. I love it when things backfire on Republicans. Their moral panics, their shotguns, all that. I love it when that backfires on them. Oh, they're not fascism light. I mean, some of the voters are, and very few of the actual elected representatives. But no, it's not fascism light. They've just, within the past 3 years, turned and ran full steam ahead into fascism. Ben Shapiro, fascist. Mitch McConnell, fascist. Vivek Ramaswamy, fascist. Ted Cruz, fascist. Donald Trump, fascist. That fucking Josh Hawley, fascist. Uh, fuck, what was his name? Pretty much, if it's a Republican and the name isn't Mitt Romney, fascist. Liz Cheney, probably not a fascist, probably an old school fucking neocon. Um, Chris Christie, I don't think is a fascist. Definitely a neocon. Pretty much every Supreme Court justice that's a Republican, fascist. Um, Mike Pence is a fascist. He's a theocratic fascist at that. Ron DeSantis is obviously a fascist. Ron DeSantis isn't just a fascist. That man is actually a Nazi. The amount of people that he's hired onto his campaign team that were Nazis and were only fired because they were putting Nazi imagery in his campaign ads is fucking insane. There's so many people that he's hired that he's had to let go because of their Nazi affiliations, because optically it's not good for him. He didn't mind it when he hired them. It's It's not like it was hidden information, but once it started being put into his campaign ads, they had to go because you can't just be an open Nazi in American elections. You can't do it. You will lose. Every time. You will lose. It's part of the reason Trump lost his second election. A, people were tired of his shit. They were scared. But also, uh, they recognized the Nazi JQ type shit that Trump would spout. That's not because Trump himself has any sort of consistent ideology outside of whatever gets him strength, whatever gets him power. He doesn't care about anything else. All he actually cares about is promoting himself. What made him drop a bunch of fucking Nazi dog whistles and shit was Stephen Miller being one of his lead speechwriters. Anyways, I gotta move on to this thing. So social values. Yeah, like trans rights, gay rights, stuff like that. Honestly, super fucking based. All right. The things I don't like are oppression of rights. Also pedophiles. I don't like them. That's not something that that's not one of those social values that I think is gonna change. People should not be in favor of pedophilia. No, just not good. It's just bad. Let's see what else. Freedom. The types. The type that makes it to where you have access to be able to do pretty much anything you want so long as it doesn't hurt other people. And why do I like that? Well, because let's face it, having everybody have access to food, housing, water, healthcare, and the goods needed for basic life and some luxuries and stuff, just access to them to be able to do what you need. That's going to cut back on a lot of things like current crime rates and shit like that. If people are given food, water, electricity, internet, housing, the basic shit, and internet is actually now considered a necessity for life. Even the Amish have a house in their area that has access to the internet. That's how essential it is. Yeah, that's one of those basic things that needs to be included. Yeah, Mike Pence. Yeah, I don't know, I think Mike Pence is more just a bottom subby boy. He calls his wife mother. Just saying. Um, fuck. Oh yeah, that's right. So like, if people got their basics taken care of, you really think they're gonna break into people's houses to steal shit? Crimes of necessity? Things like that? No, they're not gonna happen. If we decriminalize drugs, do you really think people are gonna go to jail for drug possession? No, because they're decriminalized. Let's see, what else? Murder, that could be a thing that you get punished for. Um, Obvious things like sexual assault, or trying to reestablish capitalism. That right there? Yeah, that one right there. I think that one could get you uh, uh, yeeted out of existence. Yeah, the defense of Charlottesville. Although that one gets played off a lot by all the Republicans, they don't care. Very few did, but for the independents, for the non-voter, for the Democrat voter, for liberals, for leftists, for anyone who's not a fascist or extremely ignorant and just watches Fox News and buys their shit, yeah, it's extremely off-putting. I do not know what time it is. 10:04. Okay, I'm gonna have to go here in like 15 minutes. But let's see. Let's continue on through. Oh yeah, and then the last three things are uh, subcategories under freedom: Black liberation and the type and why. So there's two different ways that people generally seem to think of Black liberation, and one of them is Black supremacy, and the other one is like more, not oppressing Black people, giving them the broken promises, fulfilling those broken promises, and giving opportunities and zones for Black businesses, Black communities to be uplifted. A lot of this can just be done through, honestly, a lot can be done through community reinvestment in lower income and poorer communities. It's going to affect more than just black people, but putting that effort into poor communities, because disproportionately black people are poorer than white people, that will uplift those communities. And yeah, white people are going to get help. There's going to be Mexican people and Asian people and people of all races that are going to get helped. But disproportionately, it's going to help black people because they're disproportionately poorer. And that'll give them a leg up. Being able to have their own Black Wall Street and stuff like that, shopping at black-owned businesses and giving them resources and opportunity the way that needs to actually be done. Gender abolition. What do I mean by that? Getting rid of the concept, societally, of gender entirely, making it completely irrelevant. It won't be needed for anything, no government forms, nothing. Because gender's fake. It may mean something to individuals, but on a societal level, it's fucking fake, okay? I don't give a shit about it. That's why I'm in y'all. I really don't care. Yeah, I would wear fucking thigh-high stockings and a skirt and then also wear like a fucking Letterman jacket and a football helmet at the exact same time. Why? Because I really don't care. Fashion is bullshit. Gender is bullshit. Whatever. Wear whatever you want. Be whatever you want. Just don't hurt people. Super easy. That's it. Gender abolition, really fucking easy. So like, to me, gender doesn't matter. But to a woman, trans woman, cis woman, doesn't matter. That identity may be important to them. Cool. Great. Cool. That's good. It can be important to you. It has no bearing on my life. You're a woman, you can be a woman. I don't care. It shouldn't have a bearing over your social standing at all. Shouldn't have bearing over what kind of jobs you can do, the way you're perceived. It shouldn't have any bearing on any of that. Pretty fucking simple. Societally, gender shouldn't be a concept that matters. Just broadly. Again, so to the individual, it can matter. To society, it really shouldn't have any effect. Racial abolition, that's the last one on here. And what do I mean by that? Well, that one's actually pretty easy. It's the same thing as gender abolition, but for the concept of race. Like, yeah, there would be black people still, but the concept of race, like on census and shit like that, completely irrelevant. Doesn't matter. No way, it wouldn't be able to hold you back in any way. It wouldn't be able to do anything on a positive or negative regard because the concept is irrelevant. What does it do besides cause more divisions and honestly harm? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do it through grants programs. Honestly, there's a fucking million ways that it could be done. The first step, I think, is to actually fulfill the promises that were made back, at the abolition of slavery. Not in a direct sense of 40 acres and a mule to every black person, but like whatever the sum total would be to do something like that, turn around and reinvest it into those communities, and then open up grant programs for them to be able to apply, for communities to be able to apply. And if they meet these requirements, then boom. And those requirements should be income based. It should be a class based fucking grant program. So reinvest massive amounts into those communities initially, give them restoration, have city inspectors, home inspectors be able to check foundations, livability of homes, et cetera, et cetera. Reinvest, rebuild homes, update infrastructure, do green energy for all of it as much as possible, shit like that. And then after that, you can open up the grant programs and different communities can, I mean, you can have a more stringent set of requirements for the grant program. But for, say, the broader thing, it's like, okay, well, look at each state and say, like, oh, okay, the median income in Oklahoma is like $62,000 a year. If you're making $30,000 or below, communities are making $30,000 or below, because there definitely are communities that are sitting in that range, sitting 30,000 or less per year. Here's community reinvestment. Just automatic. Here you go. There's money put into this. This area is going to get revitalized. This area is going to get revitalized. Blah, 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 blah. Renewable energy, fucking walkable city type shit. That's a big one right there, honestly, is the walkable city. And no, walkable city isn't fat phobic because all it means is that you can literally go get everything you need within a 15-minute walk. That's it. This includes people on scooters. 15 minutes to do it in your scooter. Oh god, there's a hell of a lot of lag on this, isn't there? Because you're just now hearing the gender abolition bit. Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. There's a lot of lag there. But yeah, I can get that. Yeah, I'm just saying broadly, like as a societal concept, gender shouldn't matter. Individually, perfectly fine, like obviously. So I streamed for about an hour, 56 minutes. I think that's actually going to wrap it up for me here tonight. Uh, it's been a deal. Yeah, I'm about to have to go. So I hope y'all have had a good one. I hope you do continue to have a good one. Take care. Tune in next time. I'm going to be probably doing a more concentrated deal on the What I Believe. Who knows? I've got some other stuff I've kind of been bouncing around in my head, going over why One Piece is the greatest anime of all time. Um, yeah, stuff like that. Anyways, I'm gonna head on out of here, and you all have a wonderful night. Okay. Oh yeah, like and subscribe also. It really helps. Please, thank you.